Welcome, everyone. Let's begin. Today's webinar is on teaching with RETScreen, where we'll explore some practical strategies for how we can integrate the software into our classrooms. The presentation is being given by myself, Greg Rushby from Rushby Energy Solutions, and today's webinar is being supported by Natural Resources Canada. So an overview of what we'll be talking about today. Firstly, we'll begin with a overview of RETScreen software, as well as an introduction to myself. And we'll also touch upon why we should be teaching RETScreen, what value it is to our students. And next, we will go through some teaching examples of how we can integrate RETScreen into the classroom. We'll show you some examples of where I have integrated RETScreen into my courses. And lastly, we'll save about 15 minutes at the end of the webinar for questions and discussion. So a few housekeeping items before we dive into the webinar itself. I will note that today's webinar is being recorded, and I'm happy to share a copy of the webinar with anyone who's attended. Please email me if you'd like a copy. I will also be sending out a copy of the slide deck to all registered attendees. And then finally, if you have any questions during the session, please type them into the Q&A. And again, we'll get to the answers to your questions when we get to the question and answer portion of today's webinar. So with that said, let's get into the webinar. We'll learn about RETScreen software, and we'll do a bit of an introduction to myself as well. So today's presenter is myself, Greg Rushby. I'm an entrepreneur, an energy engineer, and an educator. So as an entrepreneur, I founded Rushby Energy Solutions in 2011. And for 14 years, we've been working with the private sector and the public sector and the utility sector, offering energy efficiency solutions. Notably, we offer RETScreen as part of our core service offerings. We do a lot of commercial building energy audits, and we have integrated RETScreen into our energy audit workflow. And to our energy audit customers, we deliver completed RETScreen files as a value add as part of our audit. We also use RETScreen in a number of other ways as well. And I've been working in the space of energy efficiency and renewable energy for over 18 years. I'm also an educator. I've developed and taught several energy efficiency and renewable energy courses at Conestoga College. And I've also developed shorter seminars related to energy efficiency and utility bills for the utility and government sector. But that's me. Today's star of the show is really RETScreen. And we're going to be learning about RETScreen software, which is a world-leading clean energy decision support tool. And notably, we'll be teaching how we can integrate this into our classrooms and why this is of value to our students. RETScreen software itself is developed and supported by Natural Resources Canada's CanMed Energy team, who is supporting today's webinar. This is a quick overview of some of RETScreen's features. So this is actually a screenshot of the RETScreen homepage, and we will be demonstrating quite a few of these features here today. But with RETScreen, it's important to note that there's 3 levels of analysis you can do with an individual facility, and you can also combine combine all 3 analysis into an overall project, and you can also combine facilities into a portfolio. So the 3 levels of analysis are firstly a simple benchmark analysis where you can benchmark a facility or a power plant as well as set targets. The next level up is a feasibility analysis where you can do a detailed energy model as well as a detailed financial analysis. And the next level is a performance tracking analysis where you can track and predict real world energy usage and utility data, as well as other types of data as well. And again, you can combine all 3 types of analysis into a single project, or you can just do one of the 3. And you can combine multiple facilities into a portfolio as well. And notably, RETScreen has some built-in examples. And RETScreen also has a virtual energy analyzer, which we're going to be learning about today. But the virtual energy analyzer is a fantastic tool that can quickly set up an archetypical energy model or power plant model, which you can then analyze or modify to reflect your project. And I should point out that for registering for today's webinar, you are eligible for a free 30-day trial key. The 30-day trial key begins today, so it is valid until November 23rd, 2025. If you would like a copy, please email me. My email address is here on the screen. And I should point out RETScreen is free to download, so you can download it for free. However, it is only read-only for free. If you want to create your own projects, you do need the paid software package. It's $869 for 10 seats is the license fee. For me, it's a fantastic value. Again, my firm uses it, so we get a lot of value out of it. But if you want to try before you buy, please email me for a copy of your software key. And I encourage you to play around with the software after today's webinar. I should also point out as well, I'm always happy to discuss RETScreen or energy efficiency in general. You might have caught on that I really am passionate about this stuff. So please feel free to email me at any time if you have any questions about the software or about energy efficiency in general. So with all that said, why teach RETScreen? Why should we be learning about RETScreen today, and what value does it provide to our students? So we're going to explore all of these bullet points in separate slides over a moment. But in general, the main reasons for teaching RETScreen are it's firstly complementary with many different subjects and courses. And it provides our students with practical skills, which can then lead to job opportunities for our students when they graduate. And this is very current for today, but as of today, to my knowledge, RETScreen cannot be outsourced to AI, meaning you can't ask a large language model such as ChatGPT to simply create a RETScreen file for you. So this is important in today's world where, again, many traditional assignments and evaluation items we would assign to students can be completed by AI. RETScreen is not one of them. And I should also point out RETScreen is up to date and relevant. So RETScreen is being updated constantly. There is a big annual update every year in the fall. The most recent update actually just came out in September, where Natural Resources Canada is constantly updating the databases built into the software, as well as adding new features to the software. So by teaching our students RETScreen, we're teaching them stuff that's up to date and relevant with what's being used in the industry today. So it can help future-proof our courses. So what are some courses and subjects that are compatible with RETScreen? So firstly, renewable energy systems are a great fit for RETScreen if you have a renewable energy course. So a general renewable energy course would fit well with RETScreen, as well as a more focused course on, say, wind or solar or photovoltaics. The RET in RETScreen actually stands for Renewable Energy Technology, which harkens back to RETScreen's history, which we'll talk about in a moment. And energy management or energy efficiency related courses also benefit significantly from RETScreen. There's a lot of built-in energy management and energy efficiency tools and functions in RETScreen, some of which we'll demonstrate today. Building science related courses. The building envelope analysis in RETScreen could help students learn there. Energy modeling in RETScreen has building envelope components where you can explore the impact of different building materials with respect to heat loss or heat gain, as well as the impact of infiltration into buildings. So again, building science courses can benefit from RETScreen directly. Mechanical engineering is a very broad discipline, so I should point out when we say mechanical engineering, we're talking about HVAC in particular, but again, the built-in building energy modeling in RETScreen can model different types of HVAC systems. Notably, there's a lot of heat pump analyses built into RETScreen, so again, it's a great tool for that. And general engineering economics courses can also benefit from RETScreen as well. RETScreen's got a pretty robust financial analysis features built into it, which we'll briefly touch upon today. But again, if you're teaching a general engineering economics class and you want to tie some of your examples into, say, solar photovoltaics or other types of energy efficiency or renewable energy systems, you could do so. RETScreen also can be used for data analytics and statistics. So if you're teaching a general statistics course and you're teaching about regression models, for example, if you want to tie it into a practical example of how you can use regression models, RETScreen could be a great fit for that. It can also benefit public policy and urban planning. And last but certainly not least, RETScreen can be used to support student capstone projects. And I'll share an example of how I've done that in my classes today. So by teaching our students RETScreen, we're teaching them practical skills. So RETScreen is widely used professionally. Again, I use it with my firm, but it's used throughout the industry. It's used by commercial building property managers. It's used by manufacturers. It's used by governments. It's used by utilities. It might even be used by your institution with respect to their energy management as well, because again, it is widely used throughout the industry. So by teaching our students RETScreen, we're teaching them a tool, but we're also teaching them valuable energy fundamentals, such as energy auditing, energy performance tracking, carbon accounting, and other related skills. And ultimately, by teaching RETScreen, we're giving our students hands-on industry relevant experience. And this can lead to transferable skills in areas such as energy analysis, financial analysis, and greenhouse gas quantification. And ultimately, this can lead to job opportunities for students when they graduate. So many job postings now list RETScreen directly as either a required or a preferred qualification. And again, as I mentioned before, RETScreen is widely recognized in the industry. It's used by many governments, many consulting firms. It's used by property managers. It's used by manufacturers. It's used by utilities all across Canada as well as internationally as well. So ultimately, by teaching our students RETScreen, we're giving them a marketable skill that can give them a leg up in the job market for some entry level positions such as energy analyst or sustainability consultant. And as they advance in their career and they're able to apply for more intermediate roles, roles such as energy manager, for example, often list RETScreen as a required or a preferred skill. So I alluded to this slide earlier, but again, this shows the growth and the history of RETScreen over the years. So again, this really illustrates how widely RETScreen is being used. And you can really see it's growing exponentially and has been for the last 2.5 decades or so. RETScreen first came out in April 30th, 1998. Back then, it was essentially a souped up Excel spreadsheet. Now it's a full software package. And again, it was primarily designed for as an early screening tool to analyze the cost effectiveness of different renewable energy technologies. It's grown significantly since then. It's now its own dedicated software package. I first got on board with RETScreen in the late 2000s. And so again, I was, I guess, an early adopter in that regard, but I've seen it grow and evolve tremendously over the years. We're getting close to 1 million users, and hopefully your students and perhaps yourselves as well can be added to that. And ultimately, as this graph shows, RETScreen is widely used in the industry. And as RETScreen has grown, the software itself has grown and evolved as well. So if you perhaps first took a look at RETScreen in just, for example, 2005, it's changed a lot since then, and it's definitely worth a second look. So I should point out this is current as of today, this slide, but something that's really shaken up the higher education sector is, of course, generative AI, large language models. And it offers a way for students to outsource a lot of critical thinking or a lot of analytical skills that would previously be required to be done manually. So, for example, a student can quickly write an essay using a large language model, whereas previously they would have had to spend, several days to prepare a thesis and to write their overall essay. RETScreen has not yet fallen victim to this, though. RETScreen cannot be outsourced as of today. Again, I can't predict the future, and as I'm sure we've all seen, large language models and generative AI has changed tremendously over the last few years. So this might not be current in a few years from now, but as of October 23rd, 2025, you can't simply ask ChatGPT or another large language model to make a RETScreen file for you. If you assign an assignment to your students that requires RETScreen, students will have to do the work themselves. And this ultimately encourages genuine analytical learning in behalf of our students, again, in an era where it's so easy and so tempting to outsource a lot of that to AI. And again, as I mentioned before, RETScreen is growing, the user base is growing, and RETScreen is constantly being updated and evolving based on industry feedback. So RETScreen essentially represents what's current in the industry right now. So if we use RETScreen in our courses, we're future-proofing our courses. We're not tying our course to a 20-year-old textbook, for example. We're tying our courses to an evolving tool that's being updated to reflect what's current. And again, these updates, they run the gamut from updating internal databases or functions within RETScreen all the way to adding new features outright. And we'll show a couple of the new features that have been added in the latest update today, but it's really incredible what's being added to RETScreen. I should also point out as well, the folks at CanMed Energy who develop and support RETScreen, they are very receptive to user feedback. So if you have any suggestions as you use the software, you're encouraged to share that with the Natural Resources Canada CanMed Energy team, and there's a decent chance that they may incorporate that into a future update. So again, that hopefully has given you a good idea as to what you can expect from RETScreen and why it's a great value to your students. Now we're going to shift into some examples of how I've incorporated RETScreen into some of my courses. And we will complement these examples with live sped up demonstrations of how you can use them in your classroom. Again, we're keeping this webinar to an hour and a half. So we can't go into all the depth, but we'll give you a good summary of what you can do with RETScreen and how it can be incorporated into some of your courses. And the three ways I personally use RETScreen in the classroom are firstly for in-class demonstrations, next for assignments, and finally to support capstone projects. And we're going to briefly demonstrate all of these today, as I said. And I should point out these demonstrations are going to assume that you and the audience have some knowledge of the subject matter. So we're going to cover things like photovoltaic panels. We're going to look at some energy modeling. We're going to look at regression models and measurement verification. If anything's unclear about this, please contact me, including after the session. So if you do want to learn more about this and incorporate it in your classroom, I would love to help and would be happy to answer any questions you have. So three helpful features that exist in the software that can be helpful to us as instructors, but also helpful to our students, are RETScreen's built-in reference libraries and databases. So when I was first taught energy modeling early in my career, something that's really stuck with me is the phrase garbage in, garbage out. So with RETScreen or any energy modeling platform, if you put garbage inputs into the software, you're going to get garbage, unreliable outputs out. And to help guard against that, RETScreen has some pretty detailed built-in reference libraries and databases that can help ensure students are putting realistic, reasonable inputs into the software and therefore getting realistic, reasonable outputs from the software. And we'll go over those reference libraries and databases in brief in our demonstration today. RETScreen also has built-in videos that can show how to do certain analysis and use certain features in the software that are linked directly in the software. Essentially, the software will open up a video from RETScreen's YouTube e-learning channel. You can also just check out the channel on your own next time you're exploring YouTube. The link to the channel is there as well. But again, the software can specifically point you to the correct video to help you out with the aspect of the software you're using. And then, of course, last but not least is the virtual energy analyzer, which we briefly talked about before. We will be looking at that directly today when we get to the demonstration. So this is just a quick preview of what the virtual energy analyzer looks like. Again, the virtual energy analyzer is at the top left of the home page of RETScreen, as we'll see in a moment. And by clicking it, you can instantly load up an archetype for a specific location of different types of properties. So residential properties such as single-family homes or multifamily buildings, apartment buildings, mobile homes, as well as commercial institutional facilities like data centers or office buildings or warehouses, as well as different types of industrial facilities. And you can also load archetypical power plants, wind turbine farms, solar photovoltaic installations, combined cycle natural gas generation, all different types of power plants. And in doing so, you can instantly set up a model that you can analyze or modify to reflect a real world project. So again, the first way I've used RETScreen in the classroom is for in-class demonstrations. So I've used in-class demonstrations in RETScreen to support a number of the courses I've taught. One example would be a renewable energy course I taught, which has a unit on solar photovoltaic systems. So students first learn the theory about solar photovoltaic systems, and then we do a RETScreen demonstration where we can show in the software how different inputs to a solar system can impact the generation output of the system and ultimately the financial viability of the project as well. So we can look at things such as how the site location can impact the generation output, as well as other design considerations such as the angle we mount our panels at, what angle we face our panels to, whether we have a tracking system or not. We can also explore the balance of system components such as inverter efficiencies and look at other losses. We can look at the efficiency of the overall panels, and ultimately we can see how these different inputs impact generation potential and also impact the financial viability of a potential solar PV project. So we'll show a quick example of how you can do that today. And again, if you have any questions and would like to incorporate this into one of your courses, always happy to discuss this after the fact. Next, I've given students graded assignments that require the use of RETScreen. One example of this is an energy efficiency, energy management course I've taught, where we have given an assignment to students that focuses on developing regression models for predicting historical utility usage, and then using the regression model to perform a measurement and verification, or M&V analysis, to calculate the savings from an energy efficiency upgrade. So this particular assignment, which we'll go over a very simplified version of today, tasks students with importing utility data into RETScreen software, and then using that utility data to create a baseline energy regression model, which we'll learn about today, which can then track and predict historical real-world energy performance. Students are then tasked with optimizing the model and understanding the statistical parameters related to the model, and ultimately using the model to calculate the energy efficiency savings that are achieved from the energy efficiency measure. So the outcome of this assignment is students learn, again, about developing and interpreting regression models. They also learn skills related to measurement and verification, or M&V, that are aligned with industry standard protocols, notably the International Performance Measurement and Verification Protocol. And the final way I've used RETScreen in the classroom is to support a capstone project. So I've taught a course that tasks students with doing a student energy audit project throughout the semester. And so essentially we assign students a building, and we form groups for the students. So we assign students to groups, and we assign each group a building to perform a full energy audit of throughout the semester. We give the students supporting data. We give them drawings. We give them historical utility data. We give them information about past and recent renovations and other supporting data. Sometimes we give them building automation system data. And ultimately, we task the students with performing a commercial building energy audit throughout the semester. And we have RETScreen as an integral tool to support the energy auditing process, again, just as I do professionally with my firm. So students use RETScreen for the first part of the energy auditing process, which is the preliminary energy analysis. They use it for baselining and benchmarking. They also use it to set up performance tracking of the building based on historical energy usage. And they also use RETScreen's energy modeling to develop a model that reflects historical energy use, and also to develop an energy model that can predict the energy savings of different energy efficiency measures. So this is a fantastic project. I'm happy to share more about this if you'd like to ask about it offline, but it can be a great fit for your institution. You can have students do an energy audit of a building on campus, or students can perhaps partner with an outside organization to do an energy audit of one of their facilities. But ultimately, this project gives students experience with simulating a real-world professional energy audit, doing everything from the initial data collection to the data analysis to ultimately reporting and presenting their findings. And this gives students both technical skills as well as soft skills. So students learn about data interpretation, energy modeling, benchmarking analysis, but they also gain key soft skills. They learn how to collaborate amongst a team. They gain communication skills, and they also gain and apply project management skills as they work on this project throughout the semester. So again, we will do quick demonstrations of all three of these in-class examples today. But if you have any questions or want more information about how I've used them in the classroom, please feel free to email me at any time. Or if you just want to talk RETScreen, measurement verification, energy in general, always happy to discuss this stuff. So with all that said, we're going to go over to RETScreen now, and we'll quickly demonstrate all three of these in-class examples, that being the in-class demonstration, the assignment, and the energy auditing project. So here we are in RETScreen software. As you can see, my professional mode subscription is actually set to expire in 11 days. Rest assured, I will be renewing. And again, you can get your 30-day free trial if you'd like by emailing me. So we're going to start with a blank project. And we're going to give an example of an in-class demonstration of solar photovoltaic analysis using RETScreen's Virtual Energy Analyzer. So again, you can start with blank projects for benchmarking analysis, a feasibility analysis, or a performance analysis at the facility level, or you can do a combination of all three. Or you can start with the Virtual Energy Analyzer, which is what we're going to do today. And again, there's different archetypical facilities built into the virtual energy analyzer, and they all have a different star rating. Where possible, you want to select five-star archetypes. A one-star archetype only has climate data. Two-star archetypes have both climate data and benchmark data. Three-star archetypes have climate data, benchmark data, as well as base case information in the energy model. Base case means existing system. A four-star archetype has climate data, benchmark data, and base case data, as well as proposed case. Proposed case means proposed upgrades built into the archetype. And then finally, five-star archetypes, which again, where possible, you should be looking to select, have everything in the four-star archetype, as well as incremental costs of any proposed energy efficiency measures, which can help us assess the financial viability of proposed energy efficiency upgrades. So the first thing to do is to select what type of archetype you want in the virtual energy analyzer. So under facility type, you can look at different types of power plants. You can also look at combined power, heating, and cooling. If you want to look at a cogeneration example, you can look at power and storage off-grid applications. You can also look at different types of real properties, agricultural buildings, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, military buildings, and residential buildings. You can also model individual energy efficiency measures, and you can do transportation analysis as well with respect to greenhouse gas emissions. We're going to start with an example of a power plant analysis for a renewable energy course. So under type, there's lots of different power plants we can analyze with the virtual energy analyzer. Again, different types of gas turbines, both simple cycle and combined cycle, hydro turbines, photovoltaic panels, reciprocating engine generation, solar thermal power, steam turbines, and wind turbines. We're going to stick with photovoltaic. And then there's different types of models as well we can pick with respect to archetypes. So we can pick fixed systems or tracking systems. And you can see the options here run the gamut from small building scale applications like a 10 to 100 kilowatt system up to large transmission connected grid scale systems up to 1 million kilowatts. We're going to pick, in this case, a 100 kW system, which would be typically connected to the distribution grid, not the transmission grid. And typically this would be a kind of a commercial building scale system. And next, we'll pick our facility location. We can select anywhere on Earth. Weather data is available from NASA and RETScreen for anywhere on Earth. We're going to pick a Canadian location, though, and we're going to pick sunny Saskatchewan, which has some of the best solar potential in Canada. Specifically, we will pick Regina, Saskatchewan. So I'll type Regina into the search facility here. And you can see Regina pops up. But again, I could have picked if I wanted to, Chicago, just for example, or I could pick Mumbai in India, all kinds of different options here. But again, we're doing sunny Saskatchewan, we're doing Regina. And we'll click this orange magnifying glass to set that location. And once we're all set with our location, we'll click the play button. And from there, the archetype will be loaded into the software. Right now, the calculations are happening, and essentially the archetype's being set up for our location using the weather data for our location. And again, we're looking at an archetype of a 100 kW solar PV system in Regina, Saskatchewan. So it's set the climate location as the Regina Airport, and it's loaded up a lot of different information here. This is kind of the normal climate data. Historical typical temperatures, historical typical monthly heating and cooling degree days, wind speeds. Important for our analysis is historical daily solar radiation. And of course, it has geographic coordinates of the location as well. And again, we can change our location should we wish, but in this case, we're going to stick with Regina, Saskatchewan. Under the facility tab, you can do a benchmarking analysis here. You can also enter some information. You can enter a name for your project. You can enter addresses, the name and contact of who's preparing it. But we'll skip over that in today's session. Again, if you'd like to learn more about this, always happy to help. But the bulk of our analysis will happen in the energy tab. So we'll switch over to the energy tab here. And a quick note about using RETScreen. When using RETScreen, the workflow is you want to work from left to right amongst the top. And then when you're on an individual page, you want to work from top to bottom. So we're going to start with step one, which is to set our fuel and schedules. So here we can set our export rate for exporting the kilowatt hours to the grid that our solar PV system is generating. Here it's got 20 cents per kilowatt hour as the default rate, but we can adjust that if need be. We're going to skip over to step two, though, which is looking at the actual energy model of the technology, which is a 100 kW photovoltaic solar system. So again, we can modify the description and add a note here. And we can also go from a simplified level 1 analysis to a more detailed level 2 analysis. We're going to stick with the level 2 analysis for today. So again, the three key tools in the software I mentioned that can help out us as instructors and also help our students are the virtual energy analyzer, as well as the e-learning channel and the built-in reference databases and help files. So we've already demonstrated a little bit of the virtual energy analyzer. I did mention the e-learning channel, which again, you can access directly on YouTube. But if you don't know what you're doing here, you can click the e-learning button up here, and it will instantly load up some related videos that can help out with this part of the software. So again, the e-learning that pops up in the software is always related to the part of the software you're using. So we could look at an overview of different power projects in RETScreen. We could look at site analysis for power projects in RETScreen, or we could look at energy modeling, for example, part 3. And again, if we click it, you'll see it will quickly load up the YouTube video. We're going to get back to the software, though. I'm just going to pause this so it doesn't play. And again, we'll quickly go through what is in this model, and then we'll show how we can modify parameters and inputs in the model to help reinforce some of the theory we've taught to our students. So in a renewable energy course, I would do this in-class demonstration after I've taught students some of the theory around photovoltaic panels, as well as some of the design considerations. And then we can look in the software to see how changing design considerations and other parameters can impact the energy generation of a solar system, as well as the financial viability of a project. So here we have a summary of the monthly output that this system would generate in megawatt hours. As far as the inputs to the model, we're currently modeling a monosilicon photovoltaic panel. We can select other options though as well, such as polysilicon and other types. As per the archetype, we've set up a 100 kW system as far as the DC power capacity of the system goes. But we can modify this here. We can make this 110, for example, or 200. And again, I mentioned RETScreen has built-in databases. Here's a great example of this. If you see this shopping bag icon here, if we click this, we can look at product data for a number of different solar panel products. So for example, all these different manufacturers have product data in the software. So this is just a random example, but we could look at Canadian Solar, for example, and we could look at their different models. And I'm just picking things at random here, but you can again look at different panels, and it will show what the efficiency of the panel is, what its capacity per unit is, and what the overall area of the panel is as well. So you can use this database to model an actual technology, an actual specific product, or you can keep it general as well. Again, we can see the impact of changing the efficiency of a system, what this will have in the output. We can adjust the bifacial cell adjustment factor. Bifacial solar cells, these are solar cells that will generate electricity from light on both the top of the panel and the back of the panel as well. These can be useful in snowy locations where the sunlight reflects off the snow and can generate electricity that way. We can model different losses with our system, such as shading and other things. We can look at the balance of system components, the inverters. We can model different efficiency levels for those inverters and losses for the inverters. Also, we can look at different inverter capacities. So with solar photovoltaic panels, or systems, I should say, there's something called the DC to AC ratio. And typically your inverter capacity, your AC size, is a little bit smaller than your overall DC size, but we can play around with that here. So right now we have a 90 kW inverter to 100 kW DC system. We can play around with those settings. And then also we've got some financial inputs to our model as well with respect to the costs of our system on a dollar per kW installed basis. So note this dollar sign here. if we click this, this will take us to RETScreen's built-in cost database. So this will show typical costs in Canadian dollars. These are January 1st, 2025 values. And it shows a 100 kW solar system. Photovoltaic system has a installed cost of $2,100 per kW, which works out to about $2.10 per watt. And you can see as the system increases in size, the dollar per kW cost decreases as more economies of scale pick in. And conversely, when systems are smaller, you have higher dollar per kW costs. And you can also see there's a premium if you install a tracking system compared to having fixed panels as well. So again, these cost values in the RETScreen database, these aren't the exact cost of every solar system everywhere in the world. But again, it can help students get a realistic understanding of what typical cost values would be. And again, it can anchor any sensitivity analysis you're doing as well by providing a realistic starting point. So ultimately, we can use this model to demonstrate how different design considerations can impact the overall energy generation and financial viability of a solar photovoltaic project. So in this case, we're using the default of the virtual energy analyzer, but we can modify it for our purposes. So note down here, we have 150,000 kilowatt hours of annual generation. We've got a mounting angle, a slope of our panel at 50 degrees. The rule of thumb when it comes to solar panels is you want them to have a mounting angle that's roughly equivalent to the latitude of your location. And then the azimuth, this is the angle the panel is facing. So the rule of thumb is in the northern hemisphere, you want to face your panels due south. So in this case, 0 degrees is south. 180 degrees would be north, and then in between those angles would be, southwest, northwest, etc. So ideally, you would want your panel to be 50 degrees and you'd want it to be facing due south. But depending on your site conditions, you might not be able to mount at 50 degrees, or you might not be able to face due south. So a lot of people do know that you should face your solar panels to the south in the northern hemisphere, but not everyone knows that if you do face your panels to the north, you do still generate electricity in the northern hemisphere, just quite a bit less. So let's see what happens when we change the azimuth angle from 0 degrees facing south to 180 degrees facing north. Again, look at this annual generation value down here. So we've lost about 100,000 kilowatt hours of generation. So for whatever reason, our solar PV system in Regina can only face north. We're going to lose about 70% of our potential for generation than if we could face those panels to the south. And again, we can look at different slope angles. So basically, the angle of the sun changes depending on what time of year it is. In the winter, you get a lower angle to your sun. In the summer, you get a higher angle to your sun. And by picking a latitude tilt angle, you basically balance out the generation between being optimal throughout the whole year by being decent in the summer months and decent in the winter months. But suppose you want to maximize let's say summer generation, you could mount your panels at a lower angle. So again, note you're getting 150,000 kilowatt hours annually. And let's pick July, for example. In July, we're generating, looks like about 14,000 kilowatt hours. Let's change our tilt angle from 50 degrees to 10 degrees for our panels. And then note we lost quite a bit of annual generation because we're losing out on winter generation potential. But you'll see in the month of July, we've gone from 14,000 to just under 16,000 kilowatt hours of monthly generation. So if you want to prioritize summer generation, you could go with a lower mounting angle. And there's also a very detailed financial analysis you can do in RETScreen. And again, this is a little bit outside of the scope of today's demonstration. But again, if you're teaching an engineering economics class, you can explore with the virtual energy analyzer the cost effectiveness of different energy efficiency and renewable energy systems. And you can also see, again, how sensitive the project will be to different levels of debt, different inflation rates, discount rates, available government or utility incentives. And you can look at what the impact this will be on things like simple payback, cash flows, etc. So in this case, the default model has a payback here of about 7 years, and you can see the cash flow becomes positive, or the project, the cumulative cash flow that is, becomes positive in year 7. And in actuality, you get positive cash flows starting in year 1. Again, these are based on default inputs. Your mileage will vary depending on your specifics. But again, once your students have learned the theory of solar photovoltaics, you can now quickly, with RETScreen, demonstrate how different inputs to your system can impact the energy use in real time. So that's the first example of how I've used RETScreen in the classroom. The next example of how I've used RETScreen in the classroom, as I mentioned, was with an assignment, and specifically an assignment related to tracking building energy usage and predicting and calculating the energy savings from an energy efficiency measure upgrade. So I tend to use modified real-world data, modified for confidentiality purposes, but real-world, so that students can get a taste of what it's like to analyze this data in real time using real data, again, which is done throughout the industry. So for this example, we're going to do a performance analysis. So we're starting with a blank project, and we're doing a performance analysis. And it's going to load up a blank performance analysis for us now. And again, the first step is to select a climate location. This particular project took place in the Greater Toronto area. So for today's purposes, we're just going to call it Toronto. So again, we can search Toronto for our location. We'll click the orange arrow here, and you'll see lots of different Toronto options pop up, including different airports, Pearson Airport, Buttonville Airport. We're going to select this city center option, which has a ground weather station, and we'll click the check mark to load up that weather data. And again, it's going to populate the default weather data and location for Toronto here. So we're right downtown. In this case, this is Toronto City Hall. But most of the analysis here is going to take place on our data tab. I'll quickly show you what the facility tab looks like. In this case, you can enter project information, contact information, do a benchmark analysis. Here, again, we're going to select for facility type, we're going to select commercial real property. And in this case, it is, actually a residential property. It is an apartment building. And again, we can enter contact information, descriptions, etc. And most of our analysis here is going to take place on the data tab. So firstly, again, when we're working through RETScreen, the workflow is we work left to right amongst the top, and then top to bottom on these individual pages. So firstly, to get some data to analyze, we'll need to get some data into the system. So we're going to start with uploading some energy consumption data. And in this case, we're going to be analyzing natural gas data, which is fuel consumption data. But we can also get electricity data, or we could also use district energy data, water data, transportation data, offsite renewable data, or even custom user-defined data. But we're going to look at natural gas data in this example. And so the default name is natural gas, but we can call this whatever we want. We could call this Enbridge, for example, is the utility we have here in Ontario for natural gas. We'll just call it gas. For fuel type, we have a lot of different options here. Again, we could pick propane, we could pick fuel oil, or we could pick a number of different biofuels, such as wood. My favorite biofuel is Christmas trees, but we're going to select natural gas here. And for units, we're going to select cubic meters, which is how natural gas is typically billed in Ontario. In the United States, they often bill on 100 cubic feet. You can sometimes bill based on the energy content of the gas. In this case, we're going to stick with cubic meters. And we'll click this forward area to move forward with importing our data. So there's a lot of different ways you can get RETScreen, data into RETScreen. The simplest way is you can manually enter the data. It does the trick. I don't recommend it though, because it can be prone to user error. What we're going to demonstrate today is importing data from an Excel file. You can also import data from green button data if you have it. So Ontario utilities all make green button data available to their customers. Green button data is used throughout North America, and RETScreen is compatible with green button data. But there's also some really cool RETScreen Connect features as well, which we'll just briefly mention today. We won't be showing them. But if you have your own database, you can connect your database to RETScreen to import the data. Blackstone Energy, they are an energy company that focuses on energy efficiency. They actually do a lot of work in the higher education sector. So it's possible some of your institutions might be working with Blackstone on the energy efficiency side when it comes to facility management. Blackstone software connects directly to RETScreen, as does some other software packages such as Energy Cap and Hydro, which is a company based out of Waterloo, Ontario, where I'm located. Energy Star Portfolio Manager is an awesome tool as well, and many jurisdictions, including Ontario, require building owners to report their energy use in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So if you've done that already, you can now connect Energy Star Portfolio Manager to RETScreen to get the data in that way. But for today's purposes, I'm going to show you how to get the data in via an Excel file, which is how I teach it in my class. But again, lots being added to RETScreen and lots we can do with the software. We really are just scratching the surface, and I'm happy to answer questions offline should you have any. So we're going to click on Microsoft Excel file, and we'll click check mark, where it will ask us to choose an Excel file. And it's just opening it up for us now. So on the import page here, we have the location of where we're getting our file, the name of the file itself. And the first thing it's going to ask is what the header row is and the unit row for our file, and then what the first data row is, so we can adjust this. But in this case, it's saying the header and the units are in row 1, and the data starts in row 2, which looks pretty good to me. Here we've got the billing period, so we've got basically 2 years of modified real-world gas data starting in January 2023, going all the way to the end of December 2024. And we've got both our gas consumption in cubic meters and the cost of our bill in dollars. To move forward, we can press this forward arrow. Next, it's going to ask what the different columns mean. So right now, RETScreen thinks this first column is the end date. It's actually the beginning date of the month, so we're going to select it as the beginning date. That would impact things if we selected end when it's really beginning. Next, it thinks column B is the gas consumption data, the fuel consumption data. That's correct. And it thinks column C is the cost data, which is correct. But again, we can modify what these columns mean, or we can even choose not to import them. But everything looks good here, so we're going to click the play button to import the data into the software. And ultimately, what we're looking to do with this data is we're looking to come up with a regression model that can track performance of the building with respect to energy use based on weather, and then use that baseline model to calculate savings after an energy efficiency measure was upgraded. So this is gas data for an apartment building. And in this case, the apartment building actually upgraded their heating system to install an air-to-water heat pump, which was used to cover most of their heating energy use in the winter months, which again is feeding into their hydronic hot water boiler system. So we've got our gas data in. The next step is we want to look at factors of influence. So we can look at weather, which weather does impact natural gas use. As it's getting colder here in Canada, we're starting to turn our furnaces on this time of year. So the colder it gets, the more natural gas you use. But for other facilities, you can look at production, for example. If it's a manufacturing facility, you can look at how different production levels can impact energy use. Or you can look at how occupancy levels impact energy use, which does impact apartment buildings and other property types. But today we're going to look at weather. So we'll click weather. And again, it's going to default to Toronto because that's what we set our location as. And we'll click the forward arrow. And again, we can manually upload weather data, or we can enter it ourselves. But we can also get data directly from the internet. We can use NASA weather data. And actually just added in September 25 is now Copernicus global weather data, as well as Environment Canada weather data. In this case, we're going to stick with the NASA weather data, though. So we'll click OK. And it's going to upload NASA data starting from when our gas data begins in January 1st, 2023, going all the way until 2025, today, October 23rd. So we'll click the play button to get that data downloaded from the server. And it'll just take a moment to connect to the server, but it's very quick, as you'll see. And here we have our weather data already being populated. There was one missing data point, which was auto-filled with an average. That's not too much of a concern for us. And then again, keeping along this workflow, going from left to right among the top, we can now do some data processing. So we're going to add some degree days. Heating and cooling degree days make for excellent regression models, as we'll see when it comes to natural gas. And we're going to create some heating degree day data. And we'll use 16 degrees as our default reference temperature. And we'll click the play button to get that started. And now, if you go to the far right of our weather table, you can see there's now a column for heating degree days. And we want to now merge that heating degree day data into our gas table, which we've imported our natural gas data. So we'll click the merge button here. And our destination table is our gas table. Our source table is going to be our weather table. And we're going to take our heating degree day data and we're going to merge it into our gas data table. And now you can see we have heating degree day data along with our natural gas consumption data in the same table. And we can jump into the analytics now. So again, this demonstration assumes you have some knowledge of analyzing energy usage. If this is new to you, if you have any questions, I'm always happy to take this stuff off online. Always happy to talk RETScreen further. But the purpose of today is just to give you a quick taste of what you can do with RETScreen in the classroom and how powerful a demonstration tool it is. So we're going to go over to the Analytics tab, and we're going to establish a baseline regression model. So we're going to do a linear regression analysis. And linear regression models with respect to energy basically treat energy as a dependent variable that is dependent on one or more independent variable. So in this case, our dependent variable is going to be the fuel consumption of our natural gas, and our independent variable is going to be heating degree days. So what we're doing is we're coming up with a model to test to see if our natural gas consumption has a good statistical relationship with the heating degree days, which is a measure of how cold it is outside. So we'll click the green button to create a regression analysis. And we now have a linear regression model, which is in the form of the equation of a line, y equals ax plus b, where y is equal to 31.964 times our degree days plus 92, the daily degree days, plus 92.5548, which is our y-intercept, which this is the non-weather dependent natural gas usage. This would be the gas usage for hot water heating or cooking or other uses in the building. And you can see this model has an R squared of 0.83. So again, this is a little outside the scope of today's demonstration, but this is a good statistical example if you want to teach a statistics class, or if you are teaching a statistics class about regression models. RETScreen is a good way to demonstrate this. But essentially this R squared, this is the coefficient of determination, and it ranges from 0 to 1. And it's basically, it describes how well the variation in your dependent variable, this is your energy consumption, your cubic meters of gas per day, can be explained by variation in your independent variable, heating degree days, which can change independently. Again, this is a measure of how cold it is outside. So the rule of thumb for a regression model is 0.75 is usually kind of the cutoff for being a good model. It's a bit more nuanced than that, but for today's purposes, we'll look to be above 0.75. And again, the closer you are to 1, the better your regression model. So we can see here we have a 0.83 regression model within our squared value, that is. But in this case, we're looking at a project where they upgraded their heating system in the apartment building to enhance it with having both the existing gas boilers, but also to add an air-to-water heat pump that can cover a lot of their heating energy use. So it doesn't make sense to have a 2-year baseline in this case because part of our energy data includes the energy use after the upgrade took place. So we're going to go with a 1-year baseline. And when we do this, you can see the R squared value instantly improved to 0.9847. So you can see using heating degree days, we have a very good prediction of what gas use will be. And we can even further optimize this by optimizing the reference temperature of our heating degree days. So we started with the default of 16 degrees, but we can look at a different range of reference temperatures for degree days. Degree days are always, heating degree days and cooling degree days are always calculated against a reference temperature. In residential buildings, it's typically 18 degrees Celsius, but for multi-unit residential buildings or commercial buildings, you can have different reference temperatures that work out better. So we can look at if we can optimize this reference temperature. And you can see we have 16 as our default, which has an R squared of 0.9847, which is very good. But we can be even better by using a reference temperature of 14 degrees, which is 0.99. And what that reference temperature essentially means is when it's below 14 degrees Celsius outside, the building needs heating energy. And when it's above 14 degrees Celsius, the building does not need heating energy. So it essentially represents the balance point of the building. So we're going to select that 14 degree reference temperature, and we now have an even better regression model. So we now have an excellent model that can predict actual energy usage based on historical energy usage. We can now do a measurement and verification analysis. So if we click the measurement and verification button here, it will come up with a measurement and verification graph, and it will ask when the commissioning date is when the air source heat pump was installed. So on the right side of the commissioning date, it's being defaulted as December 31st, 2023. You can see the dark blue represents the predicted, dark blue line represents the predicted gas use based on a regression model. And the green line represents the actual predicted, the actual energy consumption of our building. So when I assign this assignment to students, I task them with identifying where the commissioning date took place. So based on this data, where do you think the heat pump, or when do you think the heat pump was installed? And the correct answer is it's probably either in the summer or the beginning of the fall, because you can see in the winter of 2024, the actual usage was quite a bit, essentially equivalent to the predicted usage. But when you get to the end of 2024, October, November, December, you can see our actual usage was a lot lower than our predicted usage. And that's because either sometime over the summer or in the early fall, the heat pump was installed and commissioned, and the building was using less natural gas because it was instead using electricity for the heat pump. So we'll set the commissioning date. In this case, we'll set it as August 31st. And you can now see the model's calculating energy savings from September 1st to December 31st of 19,787 cubic meters. So again, we really are just scratching the surface when it comes to performance tracking in RETScreen. If you'd like to learn more, please reach out. I'm always happy to discuss this stuff. There's also some excellent videos related to this topic on the RETScreen e-learning channel. Couple notes before we switch into the last example. Some ways I can make this assignment more challenging for students is I can introduce some errors into the data and challenge students to spot the errors in the data. Also with natural gas data, it's common for there to be estimated readings from the utility company, so I can introduce some estimated readings into the analysis and expect students to account for that as well. But ultimately, this is something that property managers and energy managers do in the real world. They set up regression models to track their performance. They also use it for measurement and verification purposes. And the analysis we just did today is consistent with the international performance measurement and verification protocols, which are widely accepted throughout the industry. So the final example of how I've used RETScreen in the classroom is to do a whole semester student energy audit project. Again, if you're interested about this, I'd be happy to share some details, but you can assign this to your students and they can work on it throughout a semester. You can have them do an energy audit of a building on campus, or they can partner with industry or with an outside partner to do an energy audit of one of their facilities. But the key here is when we're doing a whole building energy audit is we will do an analysis of the performance as we previously saw. So again, students would have historical energy data and they can set up regression models for the building just as we saw, both for electricity and gas. They can also do a benchmark analysis, and they can also do a feasibility analysis as well. So we're going to focus on the feasibility side of things by doing a quick overview of RETScreen's energy modeling functions. So we'll click the virtual energy analyzer. And in this case, just to spread things out a bit geographically, we're going to make this one in Winnipeg, this particular building. And for our archetype for the virtual energy analyzer, we're going to select a real property. We'll select a commercial institutional facility. And again, lots of different types here: data centers, food service buildings, public buildings, warehouses, retail buildings. In this case, let's assume your students are doing an energy audit of a building on campus. So we'll pick an educational facility. And then there's different types of educational facilities. We've got primary schools, high schools, as well as university and college classroom buildings. We'll select a university college classroom buildings. And then there's two different types of archetypes here. We can select an archetype for a 30 to 40% energy savings example, or an 80 to 90% emissions reduction example. In this case, we'll do the emissions reduction example. And we'll click the play button here. And again, it's loading up the energy model for our facility now, as well as the weather data for Winnipeg, Manitoba. That will be with us in a moment. And then we can see how we can modify and analyze the built-in archetype facility and how we can ultimately use it to support a real-world energy audit. So again, this is something my firm does when we do real-world energy audits. We take an archetype and we modify it based. It looks like I didn't set up the correct location here. I set it up for the default for Quebec. I forgot to load up Winnipeg, so I'll just quickly correct that. But again, my firm uses this as part of our energy audit workflow for professional energy audits, and we ultimately provide our energy audit files in RETScreen to our customers as a value add to our service offerings. So we're going to search for Winnipeg here, and we're going to set it as the Winnipeg International Airport. And so under the facility tab, in this case, we would ask students to enter some contact information related to their facility. They can actually adjust this default image here by uploading an image of the building they're auditing. We would task students with setting targets for their building, as well as doing a benchmark analysis, which they can do here. We're going to do an all-level analysis in this case. So again, they can do that performance analysis we just demonstrated. They can also do a benchmark analysis here. But what we're going to focus on is how they can use the energy model in the virtual energy analyzer to support their energy audit project. So here we now have a archetypical classroom university building energy model set up. And again, this is not necessarily going to be 100% reflective of the building the students are auditing, but this offers a great starting point students can use to modify this archetype to reflect their actual building that they're auditing. So you can build this from scratch, but it takes quite a bit of time. In my experience, it's easier to modify a virtual energy analyzer file than it is to start from scratch. And again, with the energy model here for the commercial building, the workflow is the same. We start from left to right, and then on individual pages, we work from top to bottom. So we start with electricity and fuels, where we can enter the different, the software seems to have slowed down a bit for me here, but we'll give it a moment. But ultimately, with the electricity and fuels, we can enter what different fuels the building's using, such as gas and electricity. A key thing we can do here is we can also modify the schedules as well. So with respect to the schedules, we can change the different schedules of the building. We can look to see how changing the operating hours of a facility can change energy savings. We can also look at different set points for heating and cooling. We can also model different types of heating and cooling systems. The default here for a university building is district heating. It assumes there's a central plant for the building. It also assumes district cooling, but you can modify that as well. You can also enter information with respect to your building envelope. So you can enter, and again, students here would be tasked to modify the dimensions and the construction type of their building. They can also enter the level of air infiltration. And all sorts of other different end uses can be modeled here. Ventilation rates, lighting systems, pumps and motors, equipment such as televisions, computers, and other plug loads. And you can also I should say model optimizing your supply of systems. So you can modify and model solar water heating systems. You can model energy storage systems, and you can also model photovoltaic systems. In this case, it's covering 25% of the roof with a 68 kW system, but you can model that as well and modify that to your actual building. And ultimately, you will have the option of including different measures or not. So in this case, we've got the default measures that have been modeled are upgrades to the lighting system in different areas, upgrades to some of the electrical equipment, uh, building envelope upgrades being modeled, some ventilation upgrades being modeled, and you can see different simple paybacks for different individual measures. So you can choose to include or exclude certain measures. And ultimately, students can work on this file throughout the semester, and they can gather data for the building that they're auditing through a combination of drawings and site visits. And ultimately, they can use the energy model to both model the existing building performance as well as modeling any proposed energy efficiency upgrades. So that's it in a nutshell. For example, I'll show you a building envelope, what that looks like. You can, again, you can change your building orientation. Uh, so the building north is 2 degrees off of true north. You can modify that. You can, again, these are the different wall and window dimensions. You can modify this to reflect your actual building. And again, these are the default U values and R values. These are actually RSI values. These are the metric units. But the default RSI values for the existing walls and the default U values for the existing windows. And again, you can modify this. You can also switch to, if you prefer, the imperial R values. Some people do because the imperial R values are higher than the RSI values. They're just bigger numbers just based on the units. And you can ultimately, for example, model a window upgrade if you want. So you can look at, in this case, they have the same window U value for the base case and the proposed case. But if we wanted a better U value, we could look up typical window U values by, again, looking at the help file. And this will define what a U value is. If we look at the help file here, and we can look at typical values for fixed windows. So this font is a little bit small here, but you can see there's typical U values for different types of glazing, double glazed, as well as double glazed with different types of coating, and triple glazed windows as well. And you can see typical total window U values and solar heat gain coefficients, which you could enter into your model. You could also, again, use specific product information should you have that available. And if you want to model the cost of windows, and spoiler alert, window upgrades do save a lot of energy, but they also are very expensive, so they tend not to be that cost effective. You can click this cost database, and again, you can look at the cost values of, say, for example, wood frame triple glazed windows. And you can look at, the typical cost of both operable and fixed windows, both with windows themselves, as well as putting different low emissivity coatings on the different individual panes in the triple glazed window to get a total installed cost in dollars per square meter. And again, these have ranges here. We have minimum, average, and maximum values. This isn't to say that this will be the cost everywhere in the world. These are Canadian values and these are typical, but it can give you a good starting point for your analysis. And you can do similar levels of analysis again for lighting. You can look at what type of lighting system you have. You can look at the lighting product database if you want to look up some example lighting products. And you can measure your schedule for your lights, your light levels, the cost of the upgrades. You can also model what impact your lighting system has on your space heating and cooling system. Basically, when you use energy for lighting, that energy is converted into heat, which can impact your space cooling and heating system. The default here is 100%, but depending on what type of lighting system you have and what type of ceiling you have, and whether it's a drop ceiling with a plenum or whether the lights are mounted to the wall, for example, that can impact the space heating impact. So you can adjust these settings as well. All kinds of different things here. Again, you can see why this will take a semester for a student to do as opposed to a 90-minute webinar. But again, a very powerful tool that can help students learn about buildings as a system, learn about building energy efficiency, and about energy modeling and energy auditing as well. So I do see some questions in the Q&A, and I want to be mindful of time here as well. So I'm going to switch back over to the PowerPoint presentation, and we shall wrap up today with a Q&A session. So I'll start with the questions that are in the Q&A section of the Zoom meeting. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A. And if you have anything you'd like to discuss as well, any suggestions how to use RETScreen in the classroom, very happy to discuss that as well. And again, very important to stress that we're scratching the surface today. You can do a lot with RETScreen. I encourage you to email me if you'd like to try out the software with the trial software key, and I'm always happy to discuss this offline at any time. My contact info was shared previously. I'll share it again at the end. And again, you will be emailed a copy of the slide deck. So please do reach out if you have any questions at any time. So with that said, let's take a look at what's in the Q&A. So the first question was, can we have access to the replay after the webinar? Yes, absolutely. We will give you guys access to the replay. I can email you directly a recording, a copy of the recording. Also, I believe this will be hosted on Natural Resources Canada's RETScreen e-learning channel, so it will be available on YouTube as well. Another question actually about the recording. So again, I'll email you a copy of the recording. And again, I believe this will also be hosted on the RETScreen e-learning channel. Are there any other questions or any other thoughts or discussion about how to integrate RETScreen into the classroom? So we'll give it a few more minutes to see if anyone does have any questions. And again, if you do have questions you'd like to take offline, please feel free to email me at any time. A little bit of a disclaimer here. Again, I don't guarantee any results with respect to RETScreen. It is a very valuable tool. I encourage you to consider using it in your classroom as well. If you're using it professionally, I'd like to encourage that as well. And again, my contact information is here on the screen. Always happy to discuss this at any time and to discuss energy efficiency in general. It doesn't have to be about RETScreen. Always happy to discuss energy efficiency in general. But if you want to talk about RETScreen and how to integrate it into your classroom, would love to discuss it at any time. So again, some lovely comments in the Q&A thanking me for the presentation. And you're welcome, everyone. I'm really glad you enjoyed this. And again, if you do have questions in the future, always happy to take this offline. And again, if you are teaching with RETScreen in the classroom, you can email me at any time. Happy to support you there as well. And again, seeing some questions or comments, I should say, in the Q&A. People are planning to integrate that into the classroom. That's really exciting to hear. As you get towards that part of your semester where you are introducing it to your students, if you have any questions for me at that time, please don't hesitate to reach out. So again, seeing lots of thankful comments in the Q&A, and I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed the session, everyone. For those who do want, or I've mentioned that they are going to be integrating RETScreen in the classroom, please feel free to reach out to me as you get closer to that date if there's anything I can do to support that. And again, I will stress that the PowerPoint slides will be shared with all attendees who've registered. I'll be emailing a copy of them. So it's quieted down a little bit in the Q&A. I'll give it one last call for any questions or discussion. Happy to answer any questions you have. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Otherwise, I will dismiss class. Okay, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and dismiss class. Thank you again for attending. As always, if you have any questions, please feel